Russian President Vladimir Putin has condemned the December 30th attack on the city of Belgorod, labeling it a terrorist act. In a recent meeting with wounded military personnel, Putin declared that Russia would respond to this act with retaliation against Ukraine. During the meeting, Putin described the nature of the attack on Belgorod, highlighting the use of MLRS, multiple launch rocket systems, which he characterized as indiscriminate weapons. According to Putin, these were used to target the city center, representing a deliberate attack on civilians. Internationally, the news of the attack sent ripples of concern. Leaders from all corners of the globe expressed their solidarity with the Russian people, condemning the act of violence and offering their support. The United Nations, the European Union, and other international bodies echoed these sentiments, calling for an immediate investigation into the incident. Yet the true magnitude of the attack was felt most deeply by the residents of Belgorod. Their lives were irrevocably changed in the blink of an eye. Homes were destroyed, families were torn apart, and a sense of security was lost. The city, once a symbol of Russian resilience, now stood as a stark reminder of the horrors of conflict. The impact of this single act of violence was not limited to Belgorod alone. It sent shockwaves through the entire nation, stirring up a sense of collective grief and anger. As the news spread, so did the palpable tension, reaching even the most remote corners of Russia. In the aftermath of this horrific incident, the eyes of the world turned towards one man for a response: President Vladimir Putin. Russian President Vladimir Putin did not remain silent for long. His response was swift, strong, and unequivocal. In the aftermath of the December 30th attack on Belgorod, Putin was quick to voice his condemnation. He wasted no time in labeling the incident a terrorist act, a grave crime against humanity. His words were firm, his tone resolute. This was not an event that he or the Russian Federation would take lightly. His condemnation of the attack echoed the sentiments of numerous global leaders, all equally shocked and appalled by the violence that had unfolded. But Putin's response was not limited to mere words. He took action, visiting the wounded military personnel who had borne the brunt of the attack. His visit was not a mere formality, it was a demonstration of his empathy for his people, an affirmation of his commitment to their welfare. He listened to their stories, he shared in their pain, and he assured them that their sacrifices would not be in vain. His actions were a clear message to his people and the world. Vladimir Putin was not just a leader, but a man deeply affected by the suffering of his compatriots. His empathy was not a sign of weakness, but a symbol of his strength. He was ready to stand by his people, ready to share in their pain and their struggles. But Putin's response did not end there. His condemnation of the attack was not the final word on the matter. His visit to the wounded was not the conclusion of his actions. He was not content to merely condemn the attack, to merely express sympathy for the wounded. He was ready to take further action, ready to ensure that the perpetrators of this heinous act were brought to justice. Putin's condemnation of the attack was just the beginning. A more decisive declaration was yet to come. In a move that shook the world, Putin declared that Russia would retaliate against the perpetrators of this act. This is a profoundly significant statement, one that carries far-reaching implications not just for Russia and Ukraine, but for the world at large. President Putin's declaration, in essence, is a response to a perceived act of terrorism, an act that has claimed lives and disrupted the peace of the Russian city of Belgorod. It is a clear message, a signal that Russia would not stand by while its people and its sovereignty are threatened. This is not just about an attack on a city. It's about the principles that underpin international law and order, about respect for national boundaries, and about the sanctity of human life. It's also about Russia's place in the world and its resolve to protect its interests. However, this declaration has sparked a flurry of reactions on the international stage. Some nations have expressed concern about the potential for escalation, while others have called for calm and diplomacy. There are those who fear that this could be the spark that ignites a larger conflict, one that could have devastating consequences for the region and beyond. This decision, undoubtedly, has the potential to redefine the geopolitical landscape. It's a reminder that actions have consequences, and that decisions made in the heat of the moment can have lasting effects. It's a call to the international community to pay attention, to engage, and to work towards solutions that preserve peace and stability. The world is watching, waiting to see what comes next. Will this be the beginning of a new cycle of violence, or could it be a turning point towards a more constructive dialogue? Only time will tell. With this declaration, Putin has sent a clear message. Russia will not sit idly by in the face of terrorism. In the wake of Putin's declaration, the world is left grappling with the potential fallout of this decision. We've journeyed through the chilling details of the December 30th attack on Belgorod, a city under siege, a day seared into the collective memory of its people. We've heard Putin's response, an unequivocal condemnation, labeling the assault a terrorist act. We've seen him stand tall in the face of adversity, vowing to retaliate against Ukraine, a promise made in the presence of wounded military personnel. It's a declaration that reverberates across borders, echoing in governmental halls and military bases, resonating with a world that watches with bated breath. The implications of Putin's declaration are vast and far-reaching. It's a statement that puts the world on notice, hinting at a possible escalation of conflict between two nations that share a complex history. It's a prospect that sends ripples across the globe, affecting diplomatic relationships, alliances, and international peacekeeping efforts. Looking ahead, we find ourselves peering into a kaleidoscope of potential future scenarios. Will there be a full-scale war? Or perhaps, will diplomatic channels open up, diffusing the tension and leading towards a peaceful resolution? These questions hang heavy in the air, their answers shrouded in the fog of uncertainty. As we navigate these choppy waters, it's essential for us to remember the key points: the attack on Belgorod, Putin's response, his declaration, and its implications. These are the coordinates on our map, guiding us through the labyrinth of geopolitical complexities. And so we find ourselves at a crossroads, a pivotal moment in history that could very well shape the future of Russia, Ukraine, and the world. As the world watches on, the repercussions of the attack on Belgorod and Putin's response to it continue to unfold. Only time will tell what the future holds for Russia, Ukraine, and the world at large.